It is a soil additive for water retention and release. It absorbs water, it stores it, and then when things start drying down, it slowly releases it back into the soil profile, making it so I guess real quick, you guys, well, I got a couple things. This is the product itself. In this graduated cylinder, I've got about 100 milliliters of dry product. I put 100 milliliters of dry product in this graduated cylinder and added up to the 500 milliliter mark and water. And so if you guys want to pass these around, just feel like the difference, and I guess you can more than welcome to feel it or whatever. But it absorbs up to 40 times its own weight in water. It resembles a polymer, but it's different in that it's got three components. It's got volcanic rock flour, an organic polymer, and then a silicate, and so it's more structurally stable. And it also has some micronutrients in it as well. And so that's just the rundown on the product. We've done a few trials with it so far. I did some greenhouse work with it in the spring using our rooting boxes and sand profiles. We saw some great results with it. And so for this trial right here, we've got clay profile, big time clay. And so we took an existing stand of perennial ryegrass. It's mostly perennial ryegrass. I realize it's not a perfect stand, but it's what we had to work with this first summer for me. And we wanted to find out if we could get the product into the ground. And so we used four different pieces of equipment here, and then we also had a trial over there where we used a dry jack. And so you guys feel free to walk around and look at the equipment or whatever, but we used the slit seeder, which after wetting down the soil profile, we were able to get the product in 3/4 of an inch deep. Based on what we saw in the greenhouses, an inch deep really isn't effective. We need to get it down into like the 3-inch zone at least before we saw an impact on rooting structure. This Graydon is a beast. It's the newer model. It's got the hopper on it, so we're able to incorporate sand and then a 1% mixture of geohumus in the sand. And this was able to get it about 2 inches down, so it did better than the slit seeder, but still not really deep, not really what we were looking for. On the other side, we've got just a regular aerifier, John Deere aerifier. We wanted to use this just because everybody has aerifiers. They're common. We punched holes and then we top dressed with, again, a sand and 1% geohumus mixture. Really hard to tell how much actually got in. I know the next day after we had irrigated, we came by and we could see lots of geohumus resting on the grass. So that probably wasn't the best bet. For a drill and fill, we did a drill and fill simulation. They're pretty big machines, and I don't know if we could have gotten one in here and fit it in a 6x6 plot. This is what the bit looks like. To simulate it, I used a soil moisture probe. We went with 6x6 inch spacing. It took a while, to say the least. But I think Rob, like his plan here is he just wants us to do really tedious research that nobody else will replicate, so like he just has his own little niche in the industry. But no, it took a few hours, but that probably showed the most promise if a drill and fill behaves the same way my simulation did. The dry jack, I don't have it here. It was David Curtis and I can't forget George Searle, thank you. They came by with the dry jack, and they normally incorporate Axis. So they incorporated Axis, and then we also incorporated Axis with geohumus mixed in, and then we incorporated geohumus. They told us the dry jack was actually originally created to inject polymers into the ground, and what it does, if you guys haven't seen a dry jack before, it shoots water into the ground, and after the water, it creates a vacuum and it pulls product in. And so we were able to actually get geohumus into the ground, but as soon as we were done, every line was clogged because, I mean, as you can see, that product absorbs water, so the water mixture with it wasn't really ideal. So after, seeing, playing with equipment, really, I think the drill and fill and possibly the Graydon shows I guess the greatest promise. back to the trial, not the greatest stand of perennial ryegrass in the world. The way we took our readings and just went about our business, the white lines, that's where we took this light box, which creates artificial light. We put a camera in there and hooked it up to a power source. Every morning we would take pictures. After we took the pictures, we would go in and use a program called SigmaScan Pro and analyze the percent green. Once something got below 70% green, that was just the threshold we had. That's how we determined to water it. For watering purposes, we use this flow meter, which has a valve on it, puts down 0.3 of an inch for a 6x6 plot. Result-wise, in this trial, we didn't see anything. So it was the first year research. We haven't had to water this in over a month. Anything, like no check, like we haven't had to water checks or anything. You know, it's rained, I guess, 4 times in the last month. We had the other trial going over there with the same thing starting in July, but we had an irrigation error where we had irrigation from another zone hitting it. It took us like a week and a half to find that out. And by that time we rehydrated everything, and it was August and the rain started. The nights got a little longer. And so this year, I mean, we definitely saw some, I guess, cool results because we found, like, we think what could work to get it into existing turf stands. But the clay-based soils, we didn't really see anything of promise. I guess just in addition, we also use the soil moisture probe. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, but they have different size tines. They go up to 8 inches. Really cool. Just put it in, it gives you percent water. So that's what I have really for this trial. Any questions or anything? I also have some product.
Is that the tine size you use on the air fire?
Yeah. And so,
if you'd have gone with a bigger tine, you could have probably got some.
So this is actually year 2 of the air fire, and last year they did use a bigger tine. They didn't really see anything, but I mean, same deal. They were putting in clay, and I don't know. I think experimental-wise, our setup's okay, just because we've taken some of the subjectiveness out of it by, you know, using a percent green on the computer, and that, I mean, it's not just I'm looking at it and deciding if it gets watered. I do think it has promise in sand profiles, a lot of promise. It would be nice if we could get it to work in clay just from a lawn care standpoint and that type of thing. Since I have time, I don't have them with me, but in the spring we used the rooting boxes. I guess just what we did, we incorporated 1% volume of geohumus into different depths of sand. We used 2-inch bands, so we had, you know, a treatment where we had, you know, the top 2 inches of geohumus, then we had a treatment where it was 2 to 4, and then we had a treatment where it was 4 to 6, and then we also had treatments of just from the top to 6 inches of geohumus, the top to 3 inches of geohumus. What we ended up finding was to produce the best quality turf, bands in that 2 to 4 inch range actually produce the most rooting and also produce really good biomass. If you compared it to the treatments where we actually had Geohumus incorporated from the 0 inch to the 6 inch depth, we had really good biomass but way less roots, which we've seen that in the greenhouse, and I guess in some trials where we've used other plants besides turf.